Hey world. So let me get a drink of water since I really don't get much breaks in between because it's just me, so I just ramble sometimes. So I want to take a different approach to this tonight. I know that I'm all over the place. I know that I've been very emotional. I know that I've spoken about specific topics during these. And I think as I'm moving forward and progressing, whatever it is, right? I'm learning that I need to share more of my lessons rather than my rambles. So tonight I want to talk about mistakes, self-compassion, pausing, taking that moment, um, being with yourself, right? It's in these last 4 or 5 days, week, whatever it may be, I've learned so much about myself and I keep taking steps and I keep learning and I keep evolving and I keep changing. Um, and as I do, I keep making mistakes, right? So I feel like what I learned today was that my habits are so ingrained in me, sometimes I don't even realize that I'm making a habit based decision. Um, and sometimes the right decision, sometimes the wrong decision. They're not all right, they're not all wrong. Uh, but when I dwell on something or when I'm hanging up on something or when something is affecting me in a major way, I believe that usually that means that it was a wrong decision, one, and two, that I know it's a wrong decision, right? And because I'm learning and I'm growing from these things and I'm taking these baby steps, um, as I'm doing so, I'm getting more comfortable with the pause, with the time, being with myself and focusing on working on myself. But just because I'm doing that doesn't mean I need to make impulsive, rash decisions or whether it's business, personal, no matter what it is, right? I'm so impulsive and uh, my old habits are fear driven, right? Protection of that abandonment feeling, protection of, I don't want to feel that way ever again, right? And I've been through a lot of it. And I think some of it is that I misunderstand or I don't um, fully comprehend, I guess, or fully accept change very well in a lot of ways. And I think that, when I'm communicating, I'm not communicating clearly in some ways. In some ways, I do, and in some ways, I don't. And just because I'm communicating in a certain way, and I know, I love you, Kenny. I really do. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. My super supporter, bud. I appreciate you. These things might get a little lonely on top of the lonely days that I seem to have lately, which is fine, right? I need to get comfortable being alone so that I can do what I'm doing. Um, but as I'm moving forward, I'm grasping these changes and starting to understand patterns. And I had a great call with my coach this morning, and it was like this enormous epiphany. It was this huge light bulb went off, and I was able to start seeing the pattern that I seem to always follow. Um, at that point, I understood that I had to change certain actions that I made because my words weren't matching my actions and they were fear driven and driven by insecurities and not appropriate, right? So I made rash decisions and I didn't pause before making that decision or decisions, and I believed that it was appropriate and I thought it was the right thing, but I was really just running and hiding again. And I think I do that on a daily basis. And as I'm learning my triggers and my process that I've always had my whole life, 41 years of a process doesn't disappear in a few weeks. But the big news is that I'm able to identify it. I'm able to get down to the details and see the error and accept the errors of my ways, right? And that's the difference. I'm able to identify them, grab onto them, and attempt to fix them the best I can. Um, Not everything's fixable, and I accept that as well, right? Some things take time, some things take never, but I can't change what I do or what I used to do or what I've done. I can only change how I move forward. Um, and that's it's a popular saying in the rooms, right? Because I've been sober so long that you it is what it is, and you can't change it. You just got to move forward. You just got to grow forward. You can't always make amends to the people you want to make amends to because sometimes you just don't have that opportunity. But the real lesson that I learned here is that if you're willing and you want it bad enough, you will find the real answers. You will get down to the rawest, truest self that you have at that moment and be your best self and make the right decision. That pause in that thought process before typing, sending, talking, speaking, responding, um, business, personal, no matter what it is, right? Because our mind tells us all sorts of things on a daily basis, and I would have to guess, less than half of them are true, right? It's my perception on what a reality is, and whether, no matter what the circumstance, there's more than one reality. So, is there a bridge in between? Is there a crossroad? Is there a way to merge them and bring them together? Um, I think sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But by taking that pause, at least you're able to figure out which is the best decision at that moment. And that's all you can do. I'm not very big on pausing. I'm not very good on, we're not very good yet at sitting still. Um, but I'm learning, right? And I made progress in that today. I allowed, right? And that's a tough one for me, but I'm getting there and I'm working on it. And I spent a lot of time with my kids today. I spent a lot of time, working on stuff with them and prepping for whatever's left of Hurricane Laura that was coming this direction. Thank God I haven't lost my power yet. I don't think I will at this point. It seems like it's too weak now. It's not as bad as they expected it to be, so that's huge. Very excited. Sorry for the people in Louisiana. Um, but I was running around trying to get prep for that. I was busy, right? And I took that moment, I took those moments and I focused on what was important. It wasn't that, my son flooded the bathroom or my daughter spilled food on the floor, or it was taking in the moment saying, it's okay, let's resolve it and let's move on, right? And I'm not perfect, I'm nowhere near it, but I'm getting better at those things. I'm getting better at, you know, recognizing them. And for anyone who wants to go on this journey themselves, which I would encourage, it is beyond painful, it's beyond tedious, it's beyond excruciating at times. Um, but even at this step, it's the most rewarding thing in the world. The key is to be able to find somebody that you can relate to and emulate to work with and take you on this journey. I'm fortunate that um, the coach that basically I'm in front of and that I'm working with, well, a couple coaches, but the one that's helping with rewiring my brain and my thought processes and stuff like that. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to emulate her because she has a lot of the same issues that I had, right? She has a lot of the same background I had in different ways, but very similar with the emotions and feelings and all those things. So I'm connected in a way that I'm able to when she says I was that person 10 years ago, I start thinking I could be you in 10 years, which would be the most amazing thing in the world, right? Because it's a complete turnaround. And that's 25% of the time that I've spent being the person I am today. So that's a big one. Um, this is a journey that's going to go for the rest of my life. Every single living human being is on their own journey. Every single human being that is working towards their best selves daily is always changing and evolving, right? And as long as we work towards our best self for that day, then we've already won. And that's all it takes, right? Is becoming our best selves for that day. We can't do more than that. It's impossible. You can't be your best self yesterday. You can't be your best self tomorrow. You have to just be your best self for today. And as I'm accepting these things and I'm understanding these things, it doesn't mean that when it comes to business, I only worry about today. It doesn't mean that when I worry about my kid's future, I think of only today. What it means is that I'm still enough and I'm in the moment and present enough that I appreciate today and I live in today. I plan for tomorrow. I plan for the next day. I recollect yesterday, but I'm not living in it anymore. I'm not living in the future because I'm uncomfortable with my circumstance today, right? I accept where I'm at today, and I'm okay with what's going on in my life. I mean, granted, the world situation, everything else is chaos, but I'm okay with where I'm at today. I'm not perfect. I could always be better, and I could always work towards being better, and that's a beautiful thing, right? It's a process that never ends. It's a process that you just keep pushing forward. Um, and as I'm going through these steps and seeing differences and seeing little things and realizing them, it really is a magical experience. You know, I feel like I have an epiphany almost every single day now. Um, and it really is worth it, right? And I am just as much committed to my personal journey as I am to keeping my kids safe and seeing this through and, you know, getting to a better place for them and myself. I want to help my kids. I want to show them how they can be whole. Well, if I'm not whole, I can't show that. Yes, Kenny. Yes, I agree 100%. Hail to the now. I love it, and it's true, right? And I've never accepted that fact. It's been something that just escapes me, right? I was always so busy living in the past and the pain, and then perpetuating pain, or so busy focusing on the future and where I could be and what could happen and what scenarios could change things that I lost today. And I lost the moment that I'm in, and I wasn't being present in the moment. Um, and it really like took the joy out of my life for many years. Um, and and I think I'm not the only one that goes through that, right? I feel like there's a big part of society that um, instant gratification, that um, wants change, wants to look at the bigger picture and skip over everything in between. And I just I know that there's people out there that if they see a way that they can emulate somebody else, or if they see a way that they can relate to somebody else, then they'll find their way too, you know. And and it's not a perfect process. It's just not. You know, there's steps, there's this, there's it takes time, you know, and you've got to be willing to dedicate that time to it. You've got to be willing to put that time in. Um, and you know, it's worth it. It really is worth it. You know, I'm only a short period of time into it, and there's been a remarkable difference. Now, do I have daily setbacks? Of course I do. Do I have daily moments that I'm so excited and happy? Do I am I starting to realize what self-love is? Am I starting to realize what self-worth is? Yes. At times do I get a little high on my own supply and get a little, you know, too proud? Yes, but the reason that is because I've never felt proud of myself ever before. So it's like this new experience, right? It's that whole concept of when you try new things, you end up in new places, and I'm learning that being uncomfortable is okay. And I was never okay with that before. You know, I would have Today would have been so much different if it was even just a month ago, right? Like I would have acted so different about how I responded to circumstances, situations. I wouldn't have went through my day and accomplished whatever I needed to. I would have thrown the towel in. I would have, in some ways, given up on it. I would have, some ways, walked away from it. But I was able to be at peace with myself. Not perfectly. I still had moments, right? But, when I needed to do something, I threw my headphones on. And when I was getting a little down, I would throw music on, blast it, and I'd clean. Or I'd do laundry, or I would go clean the bathroom real quick, or clean the bathroom floor, right? Like these are things that I never realized were healthy outlets because I never understood what that means. There's two types of habits in this world. There's good and bad. And as I'm establishing new good habits, it's showing me what the bad habits look like, and almost to the point that I catch them before I even get engulfed in it. Like I sat down for 2 hours today and watched a movie with my kids, like, and just left my phone on the charger and barely looked at it. I mean, there was a couple times I did, but barely. Like, it just wasn't, I didn't feel the need to have it in my hand. I didn't want to be I didn't want to be somewhere else. I wanted to just be. I wanted to just be present. And it really was a beautiful thing. Um, I don't know how to explain it from where I used to be, but it was the scariest thing for me before. It's not that scary. It really, it's stepping out of your comfort zone, finding a way to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, and just living. And that is not something I can normally do. It just worked out that way. Um, I don't know. Like, I feel like these days there's so much negativity, there's so much pressure on everyone coming from every angle that if I'm able to find my present today during this time, under all the different circumstances, under all the different chaos out there, then maybe this is something that I can continue to do. Or this is something I'm going to continue to do. Not maybe. I'm going to continue to push this. Yes, hail to the now. I love it, Kenny. Um, it's this is something I'm going to continue to do because I'm not stopping. I'm not. I'm not going to give up on keeping my kids safe, and I'm not going to stop what I'm doing because I'm starting to really enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm starting to enjoy those moments. Like my kids wanted tacos for dinner, so we went and picked up tacos right as the rain started, and I put the phone down, and we were singing in the car, and it was a moment, right? Like it was a silly moment. It was not overly important, but I was present. I wasn't looking for something else. Yes, it filtered out the noise, which is not something I've ever been good at, but apparently I'm learning, and it never made sense to me, but now it's starting to. Being present in those moments and showing my kids that those moments matter, I think is extremely important for where they're at today. With everything that they've been through, to be able to show them that they are number one at these moments. Yes, there's times I'm on calls. There's times I'm busy. There's times I'm cleaning. There's times that they need to do schoolwork. It's all scheduled, and I help them and I sit down with them. I go through it with them, and that's my focus. Yes, Kenny, I do agree. And, I think the difference is today I see that. Like I used to say, it was really common for me to say, I've got to keep working because if I keep working, then it's going to give them a better future. But if I do that, then I'm losing the present. And if I'm losing the present, then what am I living for? What am I showing them? Right? And I don't want to be that anymore. I don't want to be that person that, you know, creates that scenario for them to replicate as they get older, right? I want them to value the present. And the only way they're going to do that is if I do, value those moments because I value those moments. They're going to emulate me and they're going to learn by my actions. You know, they're going to see when I make a mistake and I'll explain to them why it was a mistake and why I needed to rectify it, right? So that they can learn from my mistakes and maybe save them some. As Dave Meltzer says, it's the dummy tax, right? If you can learn from somebody else's, then you're saving yourself that pain or that cost. So I don't know. I think I'm going to cut it short tonight because I don't want to ramble like I've been rambling, but I definitely wanted to get this point across because I think it's very important. It's important for where I'm at today. It's important for, I think, others that are going through turbulent times. And there is a way. You've just got to look for it. Again, feel free to reach out if there's anything I can do to help you. And thank you so much for Kenny for being my biggest supporter. And I really do appreciate you, bud. Have a great night, guys.